Blessings, friends. Welcome, everyone, one and all.
Yes, I think we're actually ready to start now, sharp on the hour.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, welcome to all the lovely participants that are joining this workshop.
Yeah, I hope you had a nice lunch break and now,
Yeah. We're going to our workshop with Hazel. Do you want to introduce the workshop first?
Yeah, sure. But like,
What are we talking about?
A little introduction of Hazel, and then we can start.
Yeah.
Better.
So weaving a non-gendered feminist reality is the topic that we will dive deep into now for the next 1.5 hours. And yeah, maybe first a short introduction to Hazel Archer-Ginsberg. Thank you so much that you're here right now and holding the space for us to really explore. That's great. Yeah, and actually there's a really beautiful text that I'll just read to you because it really goes to the core of what Hazel brings us. So I'll just read it to you guys. Yeah, she is a spiritual midwife, inspiring connections, encompassing yet transcending all cultural expressions. A spiritual scientist, initiating us into the magic hidden in the plain sight, where the laws of nature and the beings of the cosmos unify themselves and become manifest in our everyday lives. So that's really beautiful. There is already so much in there that we can, resonate with.
Yeah.
So a very, very warm welcome again to everyone who's now in the room and also to Hazel. Thank you so much for being here. And I give it over to Chechi.
Yeah, and yes, Hazel will guide us into a beautiful workshop, and in the beginning we will have 30 minutes where she will show us beautiful slides, colorful with beautiful drawings, and afterward we will move on into activities, and it's quite exciting because for the first time also the yippies will participate as well, and I think you will be able to see them into the screen, so that's really nice. And afterwards there will be time for you to go into conversation in pairs, into breakout rooms, and yeah, afterwards I think there will be a little bit of share screen again, and that's quite the flow of what will happen, and I will give over to Hazel now.
Thank you. Good. Yes, we've got a lot to do because the world awaits our doing. And yeah, I just want to say greetings to the Yip 13, lucky 13 Yippies, right? And all our friends out there in cyberspace. And yeah, let's just take a moment, let's just take a breath and take a moment to create a collective intention that together we are co-creating a safe and sacred space for our gathering today. An intention to consecrate the ethers with love and light and the power of transformation. I always like to give a little nod to the cyber gremlins out there, right? This is their realm, and we're using their platform here for our human expression. So we want to cooperate with each other and acknowledge each other. So yeah, I'm Hazel Archer-Ginsberg, and I'm connecting with you. Whoop. I'm connecting with you through these ethers from the great inland sea of Chicago. And I take it as a good sign that we get to be together on a Friday, since maybe you already know, all the days of the week correspond to the 7 classic planets, which hold energies of mighty spiritual beings, named by the ancients after gods and goddesses. And each one is associated with one of the colors of the rainbow and musical tone. And Friday is named after the Norse goddess Freya. corresponding with the planet Venus and the color green. So yeah, I find it to be an interesting way to start the day. You wake up thinking, oh, today maybe I'll wear green, which is sacred to the goddess whose name in Old Norse means the lady. She's associated with love, beauty, fertility, sex, war, go figure, and gold. So yeah, there's many tales telling of Freya using what they call a seder, which means a string or a web. And this is a tool of divination, right? So she uses this string, this web to weave the course of fate. And that's our job as well, right? We got to work with the threads to bring about change, which is done by weaving new elements into being. So yeah, it's perfect for our work today because we are going to begin weaving a non-gendered feminist reality by first of all, reclaiming and renaming the qualities of the divine feminine, which will give us clues into how we can use these potent attributes to empower an innovative way of thinking, feeling, and willing to create a new world where the human being is free. We're going to begin by exploring the power of the word, how we define things. And I say non-gendered because we all have qualities of the divine feminine within us, for we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So we're going to discover, uncover, unveil these attributes so that we can use them as tools for change, for ourselves, for each other, and for the world. And I want to start by saying that language, names, words are the abracadabra, if you will, that opens the door to the magic that's hidden in plain sight, waiting to be put to use by our will. I hope you all have heard this term abracadabra, right? From the Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. These folk legends are so powerful. They have so many hidden clues there. And yeah, this open sesame that opens the way and gives us our treasures. So yeah, this is the definition of magic, right? It's a real thing. I mean, you know, maybe we all know about Harry Potter, you know, there's elements of truth here that we can tap into because magic, we all have it. It's the art and science of causing change to occur in accordance with our soul forces of thinking, feeling, and willing. So we're gonna amp up these forces within us to create change in the world. And this is the art and science that we can call magic. So yeah, words cast spells. That's why they call it spelling. Words are spells that we cast on the world. And it's all about how we pronounce the spell, what our intention is. What we say, how we say it, forms, informs, or deforms our reality. So I put this picture of the water on the slide here because maybe some of you have heard of the experiments proving that water has memory, that it is a spiritual being that we can communicate with, that if we intone beautiful affirming words, sound vibrations, or even pictures into the water, it holds that charge. It informs the very structure. And since we as human beings are, you know, basically what, 99% water, it makes sense to realize that we also hold whatever energies we are exposed to, both through our own inner dialogue, right? Do we have that monkey mind going on, or, you know, whatever we take in from the outer world? So the question is, what do we want the universal song to be? What are we adding to the one song that we all share? And also, how do we protect ourselves against the disharmony? And so let's do a little exercise by demonstrating how language directs the narrative by looking at the origin of words and how that definition changes, either through our will or through an imposed will, right? Coming from those that want to control the collective narrative. So I'm going to use an example close to home to make my point. Now, I chose my name, Hazel Archer-Ginsberg, partly due to karma. Yeah, you can choose your own name, folks. It's allowed. And partly because it gives me the initials H-A-G, which spells hag. Now, be truthful. When you hear the word hag, you probably think of an ugly old witch, right? Well, that's partly because the very first entry in the modern dictionary is, quote, a repulsive old woman. So if you just stopped there, that would be the reality. But if we look deeper into the origins of the word hag, you see that it comes from hagio, which means holy, Hagia-Sophia, which means holy wisdom. So words have power. And I'm going to show, using this example, that concepts and definitions morph over time, reflecting the mindset of the culture. So, after originally denoting holy wisdom, later, in ancient Greece, it comes to mean diviner or soothsayer. Have you all heard of the voice of the Delphic oracle? Right, these priestesses who were able to weave destiny, right? So that really connects in with our Friday goddess, Freya. She's reflecting a little bit of that energy too. So then we move on in time to ancient Roman times, and this gets connected to the hazel or hawthorn tree and the term hedge rider, or she who straddles the hedge, because the hedge is like a fence, right? It's the boundary between the civilized world of the village and the wild world beyond. So this then connects to the hag that we see in fairy tales, right? Usually pretty scary, but that's because this character is meant to push us out of our comfort zone. The hag acts as an initiator of sorts, a catalyst for change. So really the wisdom is still there. It's just taking on a frightening visage. Because let's face it, transformation, it's not always pretty, right? It can be a bloody mess, which leads me to the next definition of hag. To cut, hack, hew, or chop. So interesting, really, because we often see that wisdom calls sometimes for us to destroy what does not serve. So we see this in many images of the divine feminine that have destructive qualities. Because wisdom is knowing when to put your foot down and say no, right? Or having the wisdom to know when it's the right time to let something die. So all these images of the divine feminine, they hold powerful lessons about transformation. Yeah, these ladies, they're not playing around. And I encourage everyone really to just, explore the myths, these legends, these folk tales of any god or goddess that piques your interest. Because maybe, there's one from your culture or anyone that holds a kind of fascination for you, because this archetype, this being, may be calling you to her for a reason. Now I heard that some of the yippies there get together for new moon gatherings, right? You might want to explore some of these myths at your new moon gatherings. When Ultra was young, I did a lot of new moon circles, and every month I would feature a different aspect of the divine feminine, usually corresponding to the season. And it was just a really empowering, creative way to live into these archetypes. So anyway, getting back to the hag, we soon see that it becomes associated with the word hex. She put a hex on me. And the next thing you know, it's the time of the witch hunts. When the wise women who knew about plant medicines and, the healers, the midwives, were burnt at the stake. Now, that's a whole topic. We could go for a week about this, and there's lots of reasons that this happened. The church, for one thing, was seeking to control the nature religions, where the matriarchal way of life was still revered. And it was also about discrediting the healers to make room for the doctors who learned about medicine, not from nature, but from books and by working on cadavers, right? So they burnt the wise women and took over with their leeches and pills with all the side effects and barbaric invasive practices. So yeah, healing was taken out of the hands of the wise woman to become, well, what it is today, basically a money-making business. So you get the picture, right? Wisdom goes from holy to hex. So people are asking me all the time, why would you choose to be called hag? And I say, because it's important to reclaim the wise woman, or else that aspect of ourselves disappears or is overlaid by the negative patriarchal ageist definition of a repulsive old woman. So this linguistic example shows us the bigger picture that over the centuries, the divine feminine has been relegated to either being a sex symbol or a bitch, right? And God forbid you should be old and wrinkled. And this hurts not only those who are young or who identify as being a woman, but the entire human race. Because when the powerful, much needed attributes of the divine feminine are negated, that limits our collective vocabulary, our collective reality. So yeah, I brought this example because it's important to know history, to know the origins of things, to read between the lines, to not just swallow the common narrative. And it's very empowering to practice what anthroposophy, or spiritual science, names as spirit recalling. So this is part of a very powerful mantra known as the foundation stone meditation, right? So what are the images that you get when you think of a foundation stone, right? Something you can stand upright on, something that gives you support. And it was given by this philosopher Rudolf Steiner right after basically a year after this modern mystery school that we know of as the Goetheanum, which is in Dornach, Switzerland. The original one was carved out of sacred wood by many artisans from around the world. And this was even during the First World War. So people from all nations coming together as one to create this beautiful piece of art. And it was burnt down, they think, by Nazi arsonists. So it was a year after that he gave this powerful foundation stone meditation. And it's quite a beautiful long story for another time, but to practice spirit recalling brings us perspective. It's about doing our own research to contemplate our human origins, right? Not just the origin of words, which we are creating, but our own human being, our own self. Then we can uncover the essence to receive the gifts from the past, to uncover what's there, to help us find the spirit behind the facts and the events. We're going to look past the hex to find the origins of holy wisdom. And yeah, by the way, Anthroposophy, look at the origin of words here. It's Greek. Aristotle gave it to us, and anthropos means the human being. Sophie, wisdom, right? So this is about the wisdom of the human being. How can we uncover and rediscover the wisdom of the human being, right? That wisdom, we have to earn it. And one of the things that Anthroposophy teaches us is that the evolution of human consciousness is ever changing. So at first, it was the creator beings, the divine spiritual energies that worked through humanity, inspiring into them. Now I'm saying them, but in reality, I can also say us, because we have all been here before. Do you remember? Lifetimes ago, we experienced ourselves as vessels for the divine spiritual powers that created us. The goddess, if you will, spoke through the human being. We were still one with the creator, with the divine feminine. The wisdom of the Sophia spoke through our soul forces. We see this reflected in various cultural myths and legends, and in the archaeology of the matriarchal societies. So again, it's a fascinating study to follow this evolution of human consciousness. So just to give a little glimpse, throughout history, we can trace how our thinking in particular has changed, going from a unity with creation and then becoming increasingly separate, increasingly intellectual, which was perfectly necessary. But there's always some little X factor, right? According to many of the creation tales, we broke away from this unity a little too early, right? That this Garden of Eden, we left before we were really ready. So I always have this picture of that, we ate the unripe fruit, right? The fruit wasn't ripe on the tree of good and evil. We ate this unripe fruit and we got a bellyache. So yeah, this created disease in the tree of life. So by jumping the gun, it caused us to, get cut off from source before we were fully prepared to leave the nest. So this has consequences, which I believe is part of what we're living into right now, big time. Just exponentially gets passed on until it becomes what it is. So yeah, the more focused we became on the physical world, the more materialistic we became, the more we forgot about that connection with our divine origins. But I am here to remind you that the time is now to remember these divine origins. It's time to seek wisdom consciously, to come into a new kind of unity through our own freedom. We're not meant to simply repeat the past. No, we can't go back to the Garden of Eden. No, we don't want to de-evolve. We don't want to be babies again, helpless in the arms of the goddess. Okay, maybe sometimes we do. That's okay. But, she's always there for us. But that original oneness that we had in the beginning, it was a gift, our birthright. And now it's our turn to bring the gift back to the mother. So when we know where we came from, we can recognize and use the gifts we were given. And then we can stand where we are with perspective and choose of our own free will to renew these impulses consciously. For there is a core of power that has been cut off from us. And our current society is masking it, trying to distract us with, shiny things or fear or fake news. To quote Ultra, it's all just made up. It's a distraction from the treasure of our divine birthright, which is waiting to be reclaimed and retooled for our age. Wholeness is what is being asked of us in our time now. But these powerful forces must be called in consciously. And unfortunately, most folks don't even know it's an option. But I know some of the yippies out there, you guys did a block doing some biography work, right? And maybe some people at home also have experienced this idea of, it's a perfect way of living into this principle of spirit recalling, right? We need this perspective of the past because it prepares us to recognize and step into the future, to step in to our highest destiny. It's calling us from the future. Are we listening? So when we engage with these concepts, seeking to understand the Sophia or wisdom of the human being, we discover that it's not just a set of ideas, but an actual aspect of the divine feminine that lives in us. We meet an actual spiritual being that we can call Anthroposophia, who shows us to ourselves. We see how we can become truly human, putting wisdom to work through our actions in the world, instead of blindly following the current corporate bias or the values of our family or religion or nation. Because blood ties and nationalism have had their day and no longer serve the free individual. We must decide of our own free will what our worldview is. We must define it for ourselves to create that reality. And we can only do that if we're willing to do the hard work of knowing ourselves. Know thyself. This was the motto from the ancient times, written above the entrance of every school of initiation. And it still applies today. Because when we really truly know ourselves, we see that we're connected to powerful spiritual allies who are waiting for us to call them in. And we do this by rising in our thinking to meet them, by speaking words of empowerment and wholeness, by remembering what has been dismembered. That's how we gain the strength to renew that wisdom and put it to work to create a worldview that opens us to glorious vistas where we can see the spirit in nature. There's a spirit behind everything, in every living thing, revealing the true potential. And we also have that spirit within us, revealing our highest human destiny. And what is that? What is our highest human destiny? Well, in a nutshell, it is to become the goddess ourselves. Who is the goddess? Who is the goddess? We are. Who is the goddess? Who is the goddess? We are. Right? These archetypes have no gender, folks. We are all the goddess. Our highest human destiny is to become co-creators with the divine feminine. Can you feel me? Am I making sense? So Like I said before, words are spells that we cast on the world. We pronounce a magic spell every time we speak or sing or write. How we define the world shapes it. To spell a word is to have the power to create. And if I don't cast this spell, then who will? If our worldview is dominated by fear or other toxic ideologies, it's no wonder it becomes sick. So yeah, just to close up here, I often ponder the truism that says, we can't solve a problem with the same thinking that got us there in the first place, right? So what is the new form of thinking? What positive healing magic spell will we cast in the world? And I think it starts with having a new vocabulary, a new emphasis, an innovative theme, a fresh outlook. And the way to achieve that is through uncovering the essence in order to build a new foundation for creating a new feminist reality. So, yeah, in a minute, I want us to get to work. And we're gonna do some work by thinking about, by asking ourselves, what are the qualities of the divine feminine? You know, let's name some. We're gonna popcorn attributes, right? What do you think? So, but before we start to make that list, I wanna just take a little out breath here. Kind of threw a lot at you there. And I wanna just see if there's any questions or comments. Anybody wanna do an interpretive dance, or I don't know, any kind of what's living out there? What's going on with folks? And then people at home too, if you wanna write a question or a comment or something in the chat, that's great. We have some friends here who can help us harvest those. And then in a couple minutes, we're gonna make our list. And we have a quote from Audre Lorde. Nice. The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. Very good. So true. Right? How can we empower ourselves to be sovereign? Right? To build our own house. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if people are feeling this stirring within themselves to access some of the qualities of the divine feminine, you know, especially those that have been forgotten or co-opted, so that we can have this full spectrum of colors, right? All the qualities that we need to manifest our highest human destiny. So maybe folks can start putting some of those in the chat. And can we see the Yipsters? Where's the hive? Where's the folks? I think, hi. Yeah, maybe Emma can help you write down some things that you guys are thinking. You know, if you have some qualities that you want to share, throw them up there. I think, you know, once we get going, oh, can you repeat the request? Well, the request is, let's name some divine attributes of the divine feminine, some qualities of the divine feminine. Some things, you know, maybe that have been overlooked or degraded. Yeah, fierceness, that's beautiful, right? Courageousness, caring. Exactly. You know, and we don't necessarily have to think only, you know, about any kind of cliche or anything. We can really, I think once we start going with this, we're going to come into the fact that what we're listing are attributes of the universal human being, right? The wisdom of the human being that is non-gendered, right? So yeah, intuitive knowing, intuitive understanding, being in touch with nature, the unknown and the invisible. I love it. Beautiful. Yeah. Nurturing. Playfulness. Anna says, cut the bullshit. I like that. That's right. Let's get to it, to the essence. Stewarding the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Beautiful, Jonathan. Exactly. Right. It is. It's all bound together, right? Selfless self. Oh, beautiful. Wow. Yeah, I'm working on that one. Great. These are beautiful. Good. How you doing, Emma? Nice. So yeah, I mean, the point that I'm trying to bring us to here is that we must strive to bring the wisdom of the divine into our humanness. Yeah. What comes before form. Beautiful. Yeah, let's think about that for a minute. What is that essence? What is that spirit before form? And how can we bring that into form? Yeah, that's where our will comes in. If y'all went to Orland Bishop's workshop this morning, yeah, beautiful. He really brought us there. Guidance. Yep. Strong roots. I love it. So yeah, we can really keep going with this. I mean, you might want to think about this over the next few days as well. Taking the perspective of the other. That's beautiful. Yeah. How can we be empathetic and have compassion? How can we have inclusion? Right? This idea of beingness. That's a big one, just being. And we are the human being. Right? What is that wisdom? We've got a good list here from Shell. Strength, vigor, gentleness, nurturing, destructive, procreative. What else we got? Yeah, vanity, beauty. Yeah, vanity gives us a sense of self, right? Can we be ugly and that's okay too? Blah, just be ourselves, right? No judgment, right? Have mercy. It's beautiful, right? Oh, and the silence. Yeah. What is sufficient silence? That still place where everything comes from. Yeah, and hearing the intention in the words spoken. That's beautiful, Victor. Right? That's true magic right there. So yeah, we can continue to do these. And then I think also, I'm gonna put this up here. And ask everybody, folks in the Hive have a little worksheet with these questions on it. And you folks at home here can see, you know, let's take it, let's be a little personal here. Let's really think about, okay, you look at that list or you think about some things and you say, yeah, boy, I'm pretty good at that. That one, I got that one. I came in with that. That one's mine, right? You can pick at least two that you feel, you know, you're living into right now. And maybe there's a couple more that, geez, I really like to be more, you know, compassionate or whatever it is. So pick a couple that you really want to work on developing. And then, you know, yeah, think about your behaviors. Think about the things that you're doing. You know, what is it that you're doing that are actually, you know, enhancing the positive things that you're good at. And maybe there's some bad habits that you have, some things that are reinforcing the things that you don't want to be. So maybe you could think about that, have a little introspection and think about that too. And then really, if you want to get down to it, then it's about, once you do this spirit recalling, once you, look at what's there, then what do you want to do for the future? What kind of steps do you want to take? What kind of changes can you make so that you can grow into this area and improve these character traits? So I'm just going to leave this up here and let y'all have your little bit of that sufficient silence to do this for a few minutes. I think we're going to just feel like we've come to a place of completion for this moment, because let's just have a little time with each other to share some of the things that we've put here. Welcome back. I hope you had a nice, interesting, and fruitful experience with your neighbor. It's always interesting, the karma that brings people together, right? You never know who you're going to meet in these breakout rooms. And that's always, I don't know, sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking, but it can be exciting if we live into it, right? So yeah, so let's just let that like rest in us a little bit. And maybe you made a new friend and you can exchange emails or something at some point. But before we talk about our experience, I know a lot's going on. I want to do this second activity. And so for that, see, I made my own little list here. So just in case you needed some more things to think about, here's another little list. But for this second activity, yippies in the hive, are you ready to get up and do some stuff? Just grab your pen and the second worksheet, and you're going to make 2 circles, right? So there'll be an inner circle and an outer circle. So are folks willing to get up and participate in that? Going to be kind of like a little musical chairs kind of thing. So the inner circle, small group, and then a group around that. And the inner circle will kind of move around clockwise, and the outer circle will move counterclockwise. And so you at home, you're also going to be participating. If you can see on the screen here, if you have some friends that you can think about, put your name down there, put their name down there, and just off the top of your head, a couple attributes that come to mind of this person. So we're going to have a few chances to do that. And, people at home, maybe you want to give that to your friend, just to let them know you were thinking about them. And yippies too. So so the inner circle, you could just start moving a little bit clockwise, just kind of, moving in a circle clockwise, and the outer circle spins around counterclockwise. And so I'm gonna be singing the Are You Listening song, and it's kind of like musical chairs, so that when I stop singing, you stop, right? So you'll stop wherever you are, and on the piece of paper, do you have your paper and pen? You'll probably need that. Yeah, grab your piece of paper and your pen, the second worksheet. And so when I stop singing, whoever you're standing in front of, first you'll write down your name, then you'll write down their name, and then you'll write down, 2 attributes that kind of come to the top of your head. Something that you see in them, some sort of divine attribute that you see in them. So you have some stuff on your board there, and you have some stuff here on the screen if you're looking for attributes. So here we go. Put your roots down, put your feet on the ground. You can hear what she says if you're listening. Put your roots down. So whoever you're standing in front of, or clockwise to, or whoever, Just look at somebody and write their name down on the paper next to yours. And yeah, just look into their hearts, look into your own heart. And what do you see? What is some attribute that you know about this person? Boy, they are just a really responsible person, or they're really good at admitting when they make a mistake, or they're really loyal, whatever it is. They're so sensitive. I really admire that about them. They're really good at networking. They're so able to be open and receive. All right, you ready? We're going on again. It's the sweet sound of the river as it moves across the stones. It's the same sound as the blood in your body as it bumps against your bones. It's the sweet sound. So I hope people at home too, whenever I stop singing, you go on to the next person. Think of the next person. Who's standing in front of you? Who's standing in front of your mind? Write down their name. Boy, they are so good at being honest. I really admire that in that person. Or, boy, they're so good at being curious. Go ahead, write it down. Give them some kudos. Thank them in this little exercise here for being able to be focused, or they're a really good leader, or they're good at being cooperative, right? Okay, ready? Are you listening? Keep spinning, are you listening? Put your roots down, put your feet on the ground. You can hear what she says if you're listening. Put your roots down, put your feet. That's right. Who are you in front of now? Yeah, this person makes such good decisions. I really admire that about them. This person, boy, they have a real lust for life that just inspires me. Or, boy, they're really good at time management. I wish I could be more like that. Right? Or they always have a positive attitude. I'm so happy they can teach me all these lessons. Yeah, this person is really, has a lot of drive. It's the sweet sound of the river as it moves across the stones. It's the same sound as the blood in your body as it bumps against your bones. Are you listening? Yes, I'm. Yeah, you're getting the hang of it. Good. Good. This person is really reliable. Oh my gosh, they're so generous. They have such a wonderful sense of fairness. Or, the ability to get along with everybody. I really admire that about them. Yeah. Very optimistic. Are you listening? Yes, I'm listening. It's a sweet sound of the river as it moves across the stones. It's the same sound. Yeah. Boy, this person's so gentle. I really admire that. Oh gosh, this person is ambitious, and I wish I could be more ambitious. Yeah. Wow, this person has a mindset of abundance. Boy, that's a good one. Okay, good. All right, go ahead and have a seat. You can you can write more. You can think about other people that maybe weren't here in the room with you that you want to give a little insights to. It's really, I think, important to see ourselves truthfully and to really see each other and recognize these divine attributes in ourselves and each other. So yeah, so now we do have a little bit of time. I have some stuff to round off, but I thought maybe I would just open it up again to see if anybody had anything to share, maybe from their breakout session, or from this little experience now, or some of the things that maybe I brought up that made you mad or made you glad, or I don't know. Anybody got anything to say? So yeah, I think really to round out our session, again, I'm just going forward with what Rachel said, because it really, our job now is about unifying the light of wisdom with the warmth of love. This is alchemy, right? It's the only way to activate goodwill in the world. Because if we're only working from one side of the polarity, we'll always be out of balance. We can't just shine the light on everything, being, super clever, pointing out the atrocities, all the facts and data. That's light without warmth. Doing that just makes us hard and cold. But on the other hand, if we're too sentimental, if we're Pollyanna, oh, everything's fine. No, if we're too warm and fuzzy, or if we give too much, right? Some people just give and give and give. If you don't recharge in the light, well, that's no good either, because then we burn out. So it's about when we use our thinking to shine the light on true wisdom and work to purify our feeling life, to generate unselfish, healing warmth, then our will becomes enlivened, right? All sides of our will come into action, right? Then we got the head, the hands, and the heart. They're all working together. And then we can act in the world and be a balanced force for good, for ourselves, for each other, and for the world. Yeah, makes sense? So I'm gonna end by saying, this idea of what we started with, this idea that words are spells. Now, you German people out there, please forgive my pronunciation, but the dictionary translates the German word Gemut as heart, soul, mind, seeming to imply, well, take your choice. And I guess maybe it's harder for English people to understand, English-speaking people to understand, that the word Gemut must not be thought of as having three separate meanings. It must be seen as a unified concept, embracing all three: heart, soul, and mind. So we can think of Gemut as meaning something like the mind warmed by a loving heart, right? The mind warmed by a loving heart and stimulated by the soul's imaginative power. So we've been talking about this idea of the soul forces of thinking, feeling, and willing. So we stimulate them, right? We stimulate our warmed, loving heart with our imaginations, right? Imaginative cognition, imaginative thinking, right? Gets us out of that box. This is Gemut. I like to call it heart thinking. It's heart thinking, right? It puts our head, our hands, and our hearts into harmonious activity. Makes sense, huh? So yeah, this, my friends, is how we can begin to weave a non-gendered feminist reality, right? Because yeah, feminist doesn't mean any kind of polarity. It's an attitude. It's how we say that, yes, we are indeed listening. We are listening. And through that listening, we hear the call. We hear the call of the divine feminine, who's waiting for us to rise in our thinking, feeling, and willing to co-create fresh, innovative solutions to the world's questions. Right? We don't have to see it as the world's problems. It's the world asking questions, right? Asking us to bring compassion, to bring tolerance, a feeling of camaraderie and love for our sisters and brothers and all life, empowering our will to serve. And that, my friends, is how we will manifest our highest destiny. This is how we craft a new world where the human being is free. Who is the goddess? Who is the goddess? We are. Who is the goddess? Who is the goddess? We are. Who is the goddess? Who is the goddess? We are. And I leave you with that.
Wow, thank you, Hazel. That was powerful, really.
Yeah, I really need a second to let that sink in. Your last words were very, very powerful and really beautifully rounded up the whole, the time that we had together. So.
Well, we do have a few minutes, so if there's anybody who does feel now that they want to speak or make a comment, we can be open to that, if that's okay with you.
Let's see, just raise your hand and then we'll look what comes up.
Or you can even, if you don't feel to talk, you can just write in the chat and we can read it out.
Have a little moment of appreciation together and just presencing into what we just experienced together, which was really opening so much, really opening so much new insights and remembering insights, and I feel very nourished actually.
Yeah, and I feel like now we had been in this opening part of the forum, but like I feel I tomorrow I think we will try to converge a bit and everything. I have this feeling of right now
huge
things
openness.
are really big
and we're holding it kind of,
and it's a lot to hold as well, but
Well, you can also, if you're interested in learning more about these things, spiritual science in particular, you can go to my website, reverseritual.com, and I write essays there and work a lot with these kinds of collages and pictures and such, because I feel it's important to try to artistically express, what we're trying to live into. And then there's also a podcast called I Think Speech, where you can hear me talking about these things as well. So
and definitely thank you for sharing all this knowledge, because I felt I actually didn't really know much about all of this before the session, and I think probably there are lots of other people like me, and I think it's really good that we talk about this. And yes, so thank you very much.
you're welcome. Good.